I had great credit at the time. I had fantastic, amazing, stellar credit. And so I kept taking out credit cards that I would use to pay my employees, that I'd use to pay their rent, that I'd use to pay my office rent, that I would use to feed my employees, and I would pay credit cards with credit cards. And so after about a year, I amassed about $250,000 in debt. And MTV picked up the show. Over the course of that show, I paid off $50,000 worth of the debt out of the money that I made, and then we banked about $50,000. So when they canceled the show and I was down to about $200,000, I said, well, I could either throw this money into that bottomless pit of debt, or I could make a movie. That was my logic. Those are the only two. Those are the only two possibilities. And so then it was Thanksgiving when I got the idea for Supersize Me, when a news story came on about the two girls that were suing McDonald's. And at the time, because there wasn't a war in Iraq yet, it was over a year since September 11th, the big demon in America was obesity, was the obesity epidemic. Everywhere you looked, obesity was the big war we were fighting, and it was in every newspaper, in every magazine, every news station, and everywhere you turned, it was about those two girls that were suing McDonald's. And so I'm sitting on a couch when the news story came on about those two girls, and a spokesperson from McDonald's came on and said, listen, you can't link our food to these girls being sick. You can't link our food to these girls being obese. Our food is healthy, it's nutritious, it's good for you. And so here I am on the couch in a tryptophan haze, staring at the TV, and I'm like, well, if it's that good for me, realistically, shouldn't I be able to eat it for 30 days straight with no side effects? Shouldn't I be able to live the all-American dream of overeating and under-exercising and be fine? And then the light went on, and I turned to my vegan girlfriend on the couch, and I told her, I said, I got a great idea for a movie. And so that was kind of the whole process that got us into making the film. Came up with the rules, because everybody started saying, when I started talking to people about the movie, they said, well, that's easy. You can eat anything you want. You're just, all you have to do is have just, Big Macs and shakes all the time, and you're going to gain weight. And I said, well, I'll make sure we eat everything. And not only did I eat everything on the menu, but people said, well, you could have had salads. I had one salad every 10 meals. Because I went into a McDonald's and I watched how many people ordered salad in 3 different McDonald's around my house. And 1 out of about every 10 people order salads, which is 10 times the amount of salads that McDonald's really sells. It's about less than 1 out of every 100 customers who goes to McDonald's buys a salad. It's less than 1 out of 100. So it's, the person who actually goes in there and buys a salad is missing a limb or 2. So for me, I made sure that we made rules that, in some way would cater to, somewhat keeping it real. The reality is, does anybody go to one place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day? Of course not. But, as I told people before, I have friends here in New York City who will have McDonald's for breakfast, Taco Bell for lunch, and Domino's Pizza for dinner. All 3 food groups in one day. But people do that. Yeah.
Besides the one famous scene in the beginning of the film of you becoming sick as you eat the supersized meal, and the scene of you waking up with night sweats, how often did you get sick, and how many times what went down came up? Yeah,
that was actually the only time that I got sick. And what went down, as Alex so proudly talks about in the movie, didn't come up as often as she'd have liked. Because for those of you who didn't see the film, I did experience a little sexual dysfunction over the course of eating this food, which is interesting. There's 3 things that happened to me over the course of eating this diet that we medicate heavily for in America. The first one was I got massively depressed. I would eat this food and feel great. I'd get all cracked out and feel fantastic for about a half an hour. And then I'd crash and I'd feel depressed and I'd be upset and I'd be miserable and unhappy, and I'd eat the food a little while later and feel great. I experienced a little sexual dysfunction, which we give Viagra to millions of people every single day. My depression, we give all types of depression medication for, Prozac, things like that every day. I experienced ADD, ADHD. I couldn't pay attention to anything. My mind was all over the place all the time, which we give little kids in America as young as 5 years old Ritalin every day. And there's schools that we shot in the United States, we were going around making this film with people that I've spoken to afterwards, where they have hired a full-time nurse in elementary schools who do nothing but go around and give kids Ritalin. That's their job at the school. Their job is to go give your kids Ritalin. And so for me, it's like, I have to ask myself, what would happen if we started to fix, the cause rather than the symptom? What if we started to fix that rather than just medicate everything? But that's part of our culture. We're not a healthcare culture. We're a sick care culture. We don't deal with problems until somebody's sick, until there's a real problem. The day after I went off the food, like I was a junkie. The day after I went off the diet, that next day at lunch, I went and got. There's a place around from my office that has really great udon noodles. It's like an udon shop, Japanese noodle shop. And so I went to this place and got a miso udon, you know, like a veggie miso udon. And so I went in there, and the guy behind the counter is a Japanese guy who speaks like 4 words of English. He's fantastic. I said to him, I'd like a miso udon. He goes, miso udon, okay. And he grabs a big handful of vegetables and he throws them in there, and I go, more. And he goes, more? Okay. And he grabs another handful and he throws it in there, and I go, more. And he goes, more? Ha ha ha. Okay. And so I got this giant miso udon just filled with vegetables and udon noodles. So that was the first thing I ate. And then, you know, Alex's detox, you know, as I said, was a really important part of just getting me healthy again. Yeah.
How did McDonald's respond to you during and after the film, and have they instituted any changes due to your film?
Yeah, well, McDonald's wouldn't talk to us the whole time we were making the film. Yeah, and then 6 weeks after the movie premiered at Sundance, in January of 04. Is that right? Yeah, of January of last year. And then March, 6 weeks after it premiered, McDonald's announced, we're eliminating supersize options, just 'cause. There's nothing to do with that film whatsoever. It's just a coincidence. And so that's how they responded. And they've also, you know, and then the day before the movie opened, the day before the film opened in the United States, they launched the Go Active Adult Happy Meal. The movie opened on May 7th. On May 6th, they launched the Go Active Adult Happy Meal. Just a coincidence, again. And inside the Go Active Adult Happy Meal was, you know, it was a Happy Meal box with a salad and a water and a little book that tells you how to exercise because you're so stupid. And a pedometer, a step counter, you know, so you can count how many steps it is from the car to the counter. You know. And this was the day before the film opened. They did this, just a coincidence. They made an announcement in the UK when the film opened, because the film exploded over there just like it did here in the States. McDonald's said that we're launching a brand new advertising campaign. You know, it's time to rebrand the company. First time in the 50-year history of the company, they said we're getting rid of the golden arches in all of our advertising. And we're replacing the golden arches with the golden question mark. Ooh. And so now everywhere you went in London, they had you know, pictures of a salad or of a yogurt or an apple, because now they sell apples. And so it would say McDonald's, a golden question mark. Not the way you think. Wow. Just a coincidence, this whole ad campaign. It had nothing to do with the fact that they made an announcement about their stock after the film opened, that it dropped 75% after Supersize Me opened in the UK. Had nothing to do with that, just a coincidence. And then my favorite coincidence of all these was McDonald's announced, because we're part of fighting this epidemic. We care. We're McDonald's, we care. We care about you and your kids. So they said, you know, in their effort to help fight the obesity epidemic, that they're gonna do their part, and so they're putting out an exercise video for kids, hosted by Ronald McDonald. Yeah. And then they just announced last week that they're putting all the nutrition information inside the wrappers now, after you've already bought it. So now not only do they take your money, but then they're going to make you feel bad afterwards.